Okay, and I'm back. So, for those of you who watched it, that was an episode. Things are getting kind of weird in the Targaryen front, and of course, we gotta break it down. So, welcome to the newest episode of SDW.
Super Dario World!
So yeah, things are getting weird. The show's getting kind of weird, and for those of you who are new to this whole Targaryen incest weirdness, all I can say is, welcome to the party, pal. We've been in this thing for a while. It's weird, and also Game of Thrones has always had a lot of, let's say, incest. It's always been bizarre. It's always been kind of a thing. If you guys remember Jaime and Cersei, kind of bizarre stuff, but hey, that's always the way it's rolled, and it's been weird every single time. Mob Nasty, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. So, episode 4, I still think my favorite has been episode 2, but episode 4 is okay, maybe on par with episode 3. Not great, not terrible. It's fine. Mob Nasty, my boy Dario looks like he's been drinking. Actually, no. I'm kind of under the weather a little bit. Not 100% under the weather, but a little bit, like not feeling 100%. That's the easiest way I can describe that. Also, I got my ass kicked all weekend with football stuff, but that's neither here nor there. We will discuss that more tomorrow. Let's get into House of the Dragon episode 4 because there's a lot to talk about, and I mean a lot to talk about. So let's begin. The episode begins with Rhaenyra basically interviewing a bunch of potential husbands, right? And now this is something that everything bugs me. If you're new here, spoiler alert, everything bugs me, okay? I am very nitpicky about stuff, especially things that are very easily solvable. But this is something that actually I found kind of fun in a way. Anyway, I was trying to figure out where the hell is happening. Where the hell this is happening. So again, Rhaenyra is interviewing a bunch of dudes that basically want to bang her and become, the next, king consort or whatever. And so I was trying to figure out, well, where is she? Because this does not look like King's Landing. Now, normally you would think that people would come to the queen or they would come to her, to the princess. But it also makes sense because it's been established in Game of Thrones that, royals or, lords and ladies do go on tours of the biggest houses and, they meet the small folk there and they also meet the other lords of their area. So it's fine. It's been established. So it's a normal thing. So since Lord Baratheon is sitting right next to her, I'm assuming that they are currently in Storm's End. Now, for those of you who've never seen a map of Westeros, let me open this one up right here. So right here, these are the Stormlands. This here's King's Landing. These are the Stormlands. If you go south, here's Storm's End. Now, here's the interesting part about Storm's End. You see this thing, by the way, it's because it's the Stormlands. They're called that because, it's always fucking raining. The bay right here, this is called Shipbreaker Bay. So if you're sending your princess over to Storm's End, you probably don't want to send her on ship to a place that's called Shipbreaker Bay. It's possible, however, that they're in Tarth. You guys remember Brienne of Tarth? This is where she's from. If you've never seen a map of Westeros, now you know where Brienne of Tarth is from. It's right here. It's possible that they're there, and that would avoid them having to go into Shipbreaker Bay. But, whatever. Point is, this is relevant in the future, and I'll explain in a little bit. So she's interviewing all these bunch of dudes, and you got these old weirdos trying to be like, hey, how about me? And then you got like a super young dude. Now, this is actually pretty funny. Because it's got Lord Blackwood shows up. Now, Lord Blackwood, his house is in the Riverlands. So again, we go back to the map here. Again, Stormlands. The Riverlands are all the way up here, and I think House Blackwood is around here. It's north of Riverrun. So it doesn't really make much sense for a Blackwood to be all the way down to Storm's End. Again, if this is going to be a tour, like the princess's tour of all the great houses, you'd assume that she's gonna hit Storm's End, Highgarden, Old Town, Casterly Rock, Riverrun, probably not the Twins, the Vale, the Eyrie, Harrenhal, stuff like that. You think those are the places that she's gonna hit, right? So if you're a Blackwood, you would wait for her to come to Riverrun. Now, I do understand there's an argument for them being, no, you gotta get there first, you know, because you know first in, best dressed is always a good impression. So you gotta shoot your shot as quickly as possible. It's just a little weird that a Blackwood is all the way down in the Stormlands, but whatever. Anyway, and by the way, Dondarrions are also here in the Stormlands, so I'm assuming they're in Storm's End, but whatever. Again, it could be Tarth, it could be wherever. So, just a little fun fact, if you guys care. So, the Blackwood kid being there is bizarre, but this leads to a very interesting, you know, conversation. First off, you know, Rhaenyra disses the kid for, you know, being young, even though the kid's like, I'll protect you and stuff. And there's a Bracken there. Now, the Bracken is making fun of the Blackwood kid. Now, the Brackens are also from the Riverlands. I think, I think the Blackwoods are north of Riverrun, and the Blackwoods are north of Riverrun, and I think the Brackens are south of Riverrun. Anyway, they hate each other. They've always hated each other. They will always hate each other. So, if I have to guess, I'm assuming one of the people writing this episode is like, wait, which two houses hate each other? Well, the Brackens and the Blackwoods historically hate each other. Like, all right, I'll use them. But wait, they're in the Riverlands, not in the Stormlands. I do not give a fuck about your geography, about your maps, about anything. I'm putting those two houses in, but all right, fine. Jesus Christ, whatever. Anyway, so these two houses historically hate each other. So it was one of those fun little tidbits that if you're a book guy, you're like, haha, okay. It's weird that they're there, but I get it. Anyway, so then as they're, again, this is Lord Baratheon here, so I'm assuming that's why they're in Storm's End. So as this is all going out, Rhaenyra disses the Blackwood kid, and she actually says that, oh, you know, I kind of like the Bracken guy. I'm liking his personality. And the Bracken dude keeps talking shit, so the Blackwood boy is like, you know what, talk shit and find out, and so he ends up stabbing the other guy and killing him. So, which is fucking hysterical. I thought that the Blackwood kid was dead. I wish I could, honestly, I wish I could show you. Unfortunately, it's not shown. Maybe it shows up. The Blackwood kid being like, all right, I'll just do a little quickly. All right, talk shit, find out. Anyway, fun thing here. Don't bring a knife to a sword fight. The Bracken dude is an idiot. He's bigger, he's older, but he's an idiot for bringing a knife to a sword fight when the other kid has distance. All right? If they would have been, you know, right next to each other, sure, the knife has a certain advantage, but in this situation, terrible idea. Anyway, again, talk shit, find out, and the dude ends up getting killed, which is hysterical. Honestly, that kid, my favorite character. My favorite character in the show so far. Loved him. Love the Blackwood kid. I hope they keep bringing him back. I hope he becomes kind of like the Mormont girl who just, you know, slayed the giant. I love him. I want to be in the show forever. Anyway, and also he proved his point. He was saying like, hey, I could protect you, princess, and so there you go. Love the guy. Anyway, so next they're sailing back, which again proves my point of you don't want to sail into a place called Shipbreaker Bay. Fun fact, Robert Baratheon's parents actually died in that bay, you know, coming in on a ship. It crashed. It's called Shipbreaker Bay for a reason. Anyway, so they're on their way back, and Sir Tristan, and we get a little bit of explanation that basically the princess decided to cut her tour short by like 2 months. And so the king's gonna be pissed, but she's like, fuck it, I can do whatever I want. And then Tristan Cole continues to be totally useless because they hear like a dragon overhead, and everybody, you know, he's like, hit the deck, and he doesn't go protect the princess. So at least they're consistent in the Kingsguard being completely and totally useless, because come on, man, like how hard would it have been, like hit the deck and then you run over to protect the princess? Like that's not hard. Anyway, dude's useless. Continue. Let's move on. So we get Viserys getting ready for Daemon to show up, because Daemon is showing up, apparently, you know, the conquering hero, and he does show up, and it's this whole hubbub because he walks in with a crown and he has a weapon at hand, but you know, he's being kind of a dick about it, but basically he's like, here, I put this thing on the chair, and like, here, I got you a crown, and again, he's being a dick about it and show off. But here, Viserys' performance is phenomenal. Like, honestly, this actor's phenomenal, because after, you know, they get the whole thing, the whole awkwardness of the crown and all that and out of the way, you can tell that Viserys wants to hug him. He wants to, man, it's his little brother. He went off to war. He was worried he was never going to see him again. He kind of vanished him. And so he's like, you can tell he wants to hug him, but he's not, because he's the king. And so he waits and he kind of pulls him in, but he doesn't go for the hug because he can't. He's the king. The king does not do that. So it's one of those interesting little tidbits. Like, man, this guy really is giving it his all for this role. I'm really enjoying this man's performance. Love him to death. Love Viserys. And then, you know, there's like this little party in honor of Daemon coming back, and I don't particularly love this conversation because it looks like they're kind of just, you know, it's a pointless conversation, but we're learning that it's been another year since the previous episode, so I'm assuming that Rhaenyra now is around 19. If the last time we saw her she was 18, she's 19 right now. You can see that things are still kind of icy between her and Alicent, but right now the king clearly pissed with her. So as you know, everybody's kind of pissed at Rhaenyra. Alicent goes and she tries to make amends, maybe build a bridge, and you can see that their icy relationship is starting to thaw a bit. And, you know, it's a great little conversation. Alicent, you know, expresses like how she regrets that she doesn't have that many friends, so she wishes she could have her best friend back, stuff like that. It's interesting, it's fun. And as always, I love when Rhaenyra gets trashed, and here she kind of gets trashed in it slightly. Like, this entire show is basically Rhaenyra getting trashed, and I love it. But here, Alicent is her dig at her of being, you know, oh, most girls would love to have at least 2 suitors fight over them, but you have 200. Oh my god, your life is so hard. I love it. Every single time Rhaenyra gets trashed, I'm gonna mention it just because it makes me so happy. Anyway, so they have this conversation, and then she goes and kind of, you know, has this conversation with Daemon, and then Daemon trashes her. Because she's like, my father only wants to trade me. He wants to trade me for whoever gives her the biggest castle. And he's like, there's worse things to be traded for. So I just love the way they trash her. It's nonstop. It's great. It's phenomenal. By the way, all this stuff is happening in front of the fucking werewood. I'm never gonna stop complaining about that. How are you having like a royal event in front of the fucking werewood? Again, this is a god of another religion. This is madness. It's insanity. It's depraved. It's wrong. But whatever. I'm gonna keep mentioning it, but I know that I probably shouldn't. Anyway, so they have this conversation, and basically Daemon is like, my wife sucks and I hate her. But which honestly, I can't wait for them to show his wife, like the bronze bitch, because if she's like the coolest character in the show, it's gonna be hysterical. So fucking funny. Because you imagine like the coolest, you know, chick, kind of like a little bit tomboyish, adventurous, wild, fun, nice, loving, and Daemon's just all upset next to her, like, ah, you fucking bitch, I hate you. I never wanted to marry you. That'd be really funny, and honestly would be on par with the terrible way they're writing Daemon here. But whatever. And so they have, you know, like this conversation about the difficulties, basically royalty. And then we get a small council meeting where basically they try to reestablish that Lord Corlys is upset with the crown, and then he's making moves that's gonna give him more power because his daughter is marrying a Sea Lord of Bravo, so that would be like establishing ties with Bravos and stuff like that. Again, this is a major flaw in the show. Major flaw. You can't have the Valerian house be like super important and super powerful and like the second most important one, and in the previous episode they were losing a war for 3 years against pirates. That just doesn't fly. You need to pick one or the other. Either they're the strongest, most powerful house and the richest one in the realm, and you need them on by your side, or they're the losers that need to be rescued from pirates. You can't have it both ways. You need to pick one. Here they're picking both, and it's stupid. It's stupid writing. I don't know why they keep doing it, but it's stupid, and they need to stop. Anyway, so that out of the way. It's basically that scene was basically just to say that. Next, you get to see Alicent, and well, what happens here? Oh yeah, Rhaenyra goes back to her room. She notices she finds a note, and you know, a bunch of like page boy or like a squire's clothing that doesn't belong to her. The note basically shows her to the secret compartment that leads her to exiting the Red Keep. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Red Keep was actually built when it was originally designed. It was meant to have a whole bunch of secret passages and stuff like that, and the people who built it actually ended up getting killed by the king because he was like, nobody else is gonna know the secrets of my castle, and so he killed everybody who built the castle. So There you go. Fun fact. Anyway, so we're assuming that the character here who's figured out at least part of it has been Daemon. And so now he's showing Rhaenyra, and she walks through. And this is kind of the same route that Arya took once when she was exploring. Anyway, she finds Daemon, and they walk out of the castle, and she's exploring basically the town, right? She's walking around, exploring the town. And here you get to see the small folk. Now, I'm assuming there's some kind of an event going on because there's like a lot of people on the streets. So I'll just, go ahead and assume that there was some kind of festival or something. And she gets to see a play. Well, before that, I guess we're going to something else. So while they're having their shenanigans and their adventures on the street, we get to see Viserys taking like a bath. Clearly, he's not doing well health-wise. We see his hand. He's now lost 2 fingers. If you guys remember, I believe in episode 2, we saw that he might have lost 1. He was in danger of losing 1 finger. Now we see that he's lost 2. So clearly, there's something wrong with Viserys. With our boy Viserys, there's something wrong with him. Anyway, and so Alicent is like, hey, everybody, get out of here. I'll watch the king. And they have this nice little conversation where Viserys is like, you have like a much gentler touch than everybody else. And Alicent is like, yeah, because, thank you. That's very kind of you to say, blah, blah, blah. So, the next day, you get to see Rhaenyra and Daemon watching this show, which, again, it's basically about Rhaenyra getting trashed. Just totally and completely getting trashed, which, by the way, I'm not too sure. I'm pretty sure that if anybody in medieval times would have made a show that made this much fun about the king and his heir, those people would be dead. So kudos to them. They're brave people, but theoretically they should be dead because, again, you don't make fun of the king and their daughter and the heir that badly. But whatever. It was clearly a show that it was clearly a play with a political agenda. Anyway, so Rhaenyra is starting to see firsthand, hey, yeah, people don't like me. The small town, the small people here, why don't they like me? I haven't done anything. Why do they hate me? And so I'm hoping that from this she realizes, okay, I need to be a bigger influence. I need to, let people see me. I need something. She needs to make a change, clearly, because she's not liked because she's a girl and nobody knows her, so they immediately think, it should be the boy. So she needs to do something to put herself in the spotlight that makes people go like, hey, you know what? I was wrong. She would actually do a pretty good job. So I'm hoping that's what she learned from this, but based on the writing of the show so far, I doubt it. Anyway, so this leads to her trying to buy some food and then realizing that she needs money. And so she runs, like a common criminal, which is actually pretty funny. It was one of those things that I was wondering, did she bring any money? Does she know that she needs money? And then turns out she didn't know, and so she ran. Anyway, that was fun. Next, we get to see Alicent. What's Alicent doing? I don't even remember. Doesn't really matter. So then we get to see Rhaenyra being caught by one of the City Watch people who recognizes her for some reason. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know why this thing was put in, except maybe to show that she knows the city guard really well. She calls him Sir Harlow or something. Like a knight being in the King's Watch seems kind of bizarre unless he's a commander. I don't know. Weird. Maybe there's something to this, maybe not. I'll figure it out. Maybe it's probably nothing, so it doesn't matter. So Daemon catches up with her, and he's taking her off to another adventure. Next, we get to see Alicent, who was in bed already, getting called by one of her handmaidens that, hey, the king wants you in his bedchamber. So she's like, it's kind of late. And the handmaid is like, the king don't give a fuck. And so she's like, all right, fine. So she goes over to the queen's chamber. And now this is the part that's getting really hard to show because there's like a lot of nudity. So I'm going to have to try to skip stuff. Basically, you get to see like a contrast thing. Let me see. I'm going to skip maybe. Okay, basically. So what happens in the whorehouse, because, all right, so Daemon takes Rhaenyra to the whorehouse, right? And he starts showing her around, and there's like a bunch of orgies going on, and naked people, and penises, and boobs, and all this stuff. And Rhaenyra's walking around, and here they made a fatal flaw, because they keep trying to say that they drank too much or something, and they trying to explain it off with alcohol, but you don't really see them drinking here. Anyway, they start making out because Damon starts telling her about, you know, like sex doesn't just have to be procreation and stuff like that. It could also be fun, yada, yada, yada. So they start making out. And long story short, Damon ends up just basically being like, nope, and blue balling her and just, you know, deuces. So he opens up her shirt, takes off her pants, and then he's like, I don't like this. And he leaves, which is bizarre. It's bizarre, which is, it's one of those things where you're like, why do they, listen, I'm torn here. Because Damon did the right thing by leaving, because, you know, banging your niece is weird. But also, we're going back to the point of this guy's the rogue prince. He's supposed to be like the coolest character, right? He's either like, he's extremely controversial but extremely cool. I don't think cool guys like blue ball chicks. That just doesn't seem like a thing they would do. Or, you know, on a whim make out with her niece. That's just bizarre. That's not something that I would think a cool guy does. So it's one of those things like, listen, if he's gonna do it, he needs to do it completely so we hate him. Or if he's not gonna do it, he's not supposed to do it at all, and so we love him. It's one of the both. But here they did both things, which is stupid. They went halfway. So either do it so we hate you, or completely, you know, reject her so we love you. It has to, because you did the right moral thing. They keep going halfway, and it's stupid, and it sucks, and I feel super bad for Matt Smith, because the dude is trying super hard to make this character really cool, and they won't let him. The writing won't let him. They keep making him do the dumbest fucking things, and he's trying, and he actually has chemistry with this girl, and he has some pretty interesting situations here, and they just keep ruining it for him. Like, I still think that it should have been the dude who played, like, I would have preferred the dude who played Mark Anthony in Rome, but Matt Smith's a good actor, and he's trying really hard. It's just, they won't let him. The writers won't let him. Anyway, in the same time this bizarre incest thing's happening, we're having, it's crossing between that scene and a scene of, let me see if I can find it. There's gotta be, okay, here we go. And there's a scene between Alicent and Viserys having sex. So like it's this crossover, like the weird incest part with the weird, with Alicent having sex with Viserys. Now this scene is bizarre, like really beyond bizarre. Let me explain to you. Let me explain why. For many reasons. One, this is probably the healthiest relationship we've seen on Game of Thrones, or anything Game of Thrones related. Viserys and Alicent. It's actually like the nicest, most wholesome relationship we've seen in the show. Because all the other relationships we've ever seen are really fucked up. Let me see. Let me give you some examples. Cersei and Jaime, fucked up. Cersei and Robert, fucked up. There's Sansa and Ramsay, really fucked up. Littlefinger and Lysa Tully, really fucked up. Tyrion and his whore, really fucked up. Daenerys and Jon, really fucked up. Drogo and Daenerys was actually kind of nice if you get past the whole rape thing at first, and she got sold off when she was like 13 years old, which she did, so whatever. I'll give Daenerys and Dario, but that's also kind of fucked up because it's a relationship that was never going to go anywhere, and basically he's just the fuckboy. What else? Who else have we seen in a relationship in Game of Thrones? What other characters? Okay, Jon and Ygritte. If you guys remember, he ends up killing her. What else? Who else? Who else am I missing here? Maybe Ned and Caitlyn. Ned and Caitlyn. But Caitlyn is the reason why Ned's dead. So I'm gonna say no. Robin, that chick that the niece of, the granddaughter of Charlie Chaplin, her. I'm gonna say no because again, that relationship led to their death. Let's see, who else am I missing here? Who's our nice little relationship that I'm forgetting? Point is, most relationships in Game of Thrones don't end up too well. Here, this one, it actually seems like nice. Like she's nice to him. They have a healthy relationship for the most part. And here's the fucked up part. Here's the thing that I don't understand. Like they wanted to try really hard to make it kind of look like rapey and abuse and stuff. It seems really out of place timeline wise. Like we just saw them they were in the tub and she was bathing him. So what we learned from that scene is that they have a lot of intimacy and she's not uncomfortable touching him intimately. So that followed by this, it's really weird. Also, I don't know if you guys, but if you're with your partner and your partner's bathing you, that kind of leads to some intimate moments, you know, maybe like at least like a slight makeout session or whatever, but it usually leads to some stuff, a little. So again, adding this thing, it doesn't feel right with the characters, with the tempo of the episode, nothing. And I don't know what they're trying to show other than Alicent is a dead fish, which, by the way, if there's any girls listening to this, which I know that a few of you are, don't be a dead fish. Don't. It's bad. Don't, at least pretend, put a little bit of effort or something. Doing that's not cool. Like if I were Viserys, I'd be seriously considering a divorce, because I'm like, seriously? Like, this is how you're going to behave? This is not cool. I already got heirs from you. Like, I don't need you anymore. Like, you're replaceable. Oh, I'm the king. And again, this is probably why I should never be king. But anyway, so it was just bizarre, and it bugged me, and it annoyed me, and I hated it. Next, so we get to see, so again, we got to see this back-to-back sex stuff. Alicent straight up not having a good time with Viserys, Rhaenyra straight up having too much of a good time with Daemon, and then getting blue-balled by him. They're both kind of fucked up. I mean, if you get the age difference here between Viserys and Alicent, it's kind of weird. But here's the thing. She voluntarily went there. She seduced him. Don't forget that. She put herself in that position. Now, I know that a lot of people are like, oh, well, no, it's a victim, whatever. No, she put herself. She's manipulating him. From the beginning, she's the one who started manipulating him. She put herself there voluntarily. You can't cry now. You actually won. Like, Alicent is a legit player in the Game of Thrones. Now, she might be a good person and she might feel bad about it, but she's a legit player and she's actually good at it. She's really good at the Game of Thrones. So good that she actually managed to sleep her way all the way to Queen. So now that you're there, kind of have to put a little bit of effort. Just saying. Anyway, let me see what's Chuck Dominguez. What's up with Game of Thrones writers putting in incest? All right. I'll get back to that thing. Nobody likes a dead fish. I would pull up my pants and walk away without saying shit. What's up, Dario? You seem passionate, man. Lol. Yes, I have that problem. I'm very passionate about stuff that doesn't matter, but whatever. Okay, the incest stuff. That's always been a thing in Game of Thrones. It's always been a thing. Books, show, whatever. If you go back, very first episode of Game of Thrones, we learned that Jaime was banging Cersei, who was his, who was his twin. Like, so it's always been a thing. And throughout Targaryen history, they've been banging each other. Like, if you guys go back to Aegon the Conqueror, he had 2 wives, and both wives were his sisters. So it's been a thing. Incest has been a thing, but now it's there for you to see, for the masses to see. And it's really weird. It's really bizarre. But anyway, let's continue. So then that leads us to the other interesting scene. Let me see if I can get it, because I actually really enjoyed this. I could not stop laughing when I saw this at first. So Rhaenyra, legitimately, you know, she's pissed, she's hurt, she's butthurt, and she runs back to the Red Keep, and she walks right past Tristan Cole, who again is beyond useless as a Kingsguard. The dude's supposed to be protecting her, right? And he's outside by the way, the fact that they don't give this man a bench or something is hysterical. They just expect him to stand out there all night. But anyway, he's standing out there and the princess just walks right past him. So he's like, what? Like, I thought you were, how useless am I? How useless can I be that I can't even guard the princess in her own room? Madness. Anyway, so then okay. This also starts being very, very bizarre. So, listen, I need to make a confession here. All right, this is kind of important. I have never been a 19-year-old girl who's just been rejected and got blue-balled by her uncle. I'm sorry. That's, it's out there. You guys know. I have no idea how that feels. I'm pretty sure it's gotta suck, but I've never been in that position. So, never been in that position. I'm gonna take a guess at how that would feel. And if I were in the position where, again, I'm a 19-year-old virgin, I just got massively blue-balled by my uncle in a whorehouse, where he took off my panties and kind of just left me there alone in the middle of an orgy, I would feel kind of shitty. My ego would be super bruised, and the only thing I would want to do is go home and probably cry. Like, that's the only thing I would want to do. So what Rhaenyra does here next is insane, madness, crazy. And what she does is even crazier once you realize what she does. Because what she does is she goes home and she rapes a man. Our poor boy, Tristan Cole, who again is a useless Kingsguard, got raped by his boss. And why do I say that? There's a massive, and I mean massive, imbalance of power between the princess, heir to the Seven Kingdoms, and her Kingsguard. Now, put this in any other context. Imagine a girl and her male boss. All right, now imagine that the male boss is the king. And if he wants to, he can just chop off your head for no fucking reason. There's a massive imbalance of power here. And now, I'm not saying that Tristan Cole is a pure little virgin, but it's probable that he was, because for those of you who don't know, in Westeros, again, for this is most book stuff, those who aim to be at the Kingsguard, the Kingsguard have vows of celibacy. It's not just you're a badass fighter. You also have to be like a legit good person. You have to be religious. You have to have a whole bunch of vows, and so they vow celibacy and all that stuff. And there's some people who take it super seriously. There's some people who are kind of more loose about it. Like, let's say, for example, Jaime Lannister, who bangs his sister, who bangs the queen, and who killed the king. So, there's two sides. And Tristan Cole seems to be more like the goody two-shoes because of the conversation that those two had in the previous episode. The guy actually says, like, this is the biggest honor that's ever been bestowed upon my house. So the dude clearly worked hard. Imagine, I don't know, like an NFL player, like the dedication, the sacrifice, all that stuff they have to do and able to be able to reach the NFL, like the diets they have to have, the not partying, not doing anything crazy. Like, that's the kind of discipline this dude probably had his entire life, and he probably took his vows very seriously. And that I'm kind of led to think that by the way that he takes off his cape and he folds it and he's like, like, there goes my vows. So not only was this man raped by his boss, he may have lost his virginity at that same moment, which is insane. Again, this episode, this show is just fucking wild. And also, this is like the unsexiest sex scene ever. Now, granted, it's probably, because it's a rape scene, but it's also very slow and not sexy at all. Like, it's all right. Like, we're taking off, every person's taking off their clothes separately. They're not even like trying to make out while they do it. Like a little bit of passion and stuff. It's really weird. I don't know who the hell thought it was a good idea to do it this way, but they were wrong. They were very wrong. Massively wrong. It's uncomfortable. It just didn't make any sense whatsoever. And I gotta skip a bunch of stuff here because again, I'm worried about the nudity. I might not do these episodes live, but Chuck Dominguez, yeah, #me too. Well, it did. The dude got raped. Like, imagine that. Imagine your boss just start, like taking, like I don't know, what do you need for work? I don't know, your computer. Just takes your computer. And, it's like, all right, you gotta, like, suck my dick for it. You're like, what? That'd be really weird, ladies, right? It's the same thing. It's, like, literally the exact same thing. Now, if you're Tristan Cole, you're in a very, very precarious position because it's like, you have to do whatever the princess says. However, if you go and tell the king might kill you because, A, you disobeyed the princess, but if you bang the princess, the king will kill you. So it's basically... it's a no-win situation for the guy, but in one of those situations, he gets to bang the princess. So, I understand his decision. I understand the decision making here. So, you're in construction, bro. Listen, I'm just saying, imagine that position, or just flip the roles. If a guy would have done that to a girl, like a prince would have done that to a maid, the exact same scene, how would that have flown? It's pretty clear. The only difference is, well, okay. I feel the exact same way that I feel about, Tristan Cole and Rhaenyra. Well, Rhaenyra raping Tristan Cole, the same way I feel as, the hot 30-year-old professor banging the 13-year-old boy, right? The female teacher, the 30-year-old banging the 13-year-old boy. Like, it's wrong, it's disgusting, it should never happen, but I also wish it happened to me, okay? So The exact same way, the exact same feelings. So let's move on before I get in even more into even more trouble. And Chuck Dominguez, my boss is 230 pounds and 6 feet. Well, now imagine like if those 230 pounds and 6'6" of man meat started to hit on you, you'd be pretty uncomfortable too. Anyway, so I need to move on from this seriously, because let's just say it's weird. It was a weird scene. Weird scene. Move on. So next, Lord Otto Hightower gets one of his spies, who's a kid, to go and visit him, and I think we all wish that now there's an imbalance of power. Yes, clear imbalance of power. Imagine him being like, "Hey, you want more shifts? Suck me," and you're like, "Oh God, no." But in here, it would be like, if you don't want me to kill you, or basically like, I can't get stuck on this. I can't get stuck on this. Anyway, so we get to see Otto Hightower, one of his spies, basically give him information that he saw Rhaenyra there. And then we get the return of this chick, who I don't remember her name. Let me check real quick. She's got to be... All right, Mizaria, who was Daemon's whore, who's apparently back in King's Landing. I assumed that she just left with Daemon, but no, apparently she's back in King's Landing, and now she's no longer a whore. She's in business. Now, what business is not exactly clear, but she's in business, all right? She's a business woman. And here we see a very hungover Daemon, which is, again, weird, because we didn't see Daemon drink that much. We saw him with a flask, and that's it. So, again, this goes into the big mistake of the episode, and that's not showing us them actually drinking. And it leads to another mistake, which I'll get to in a minute. But, yeah, it was just weird. It was very weird. So what they were trying to say is that, oh, Daemon was so drunk, and in the middle of making out with his niece, he realized, oh fuck, I'm making out with my niece, and so he was like, no, I can't do this, and he left. Or maybe he was getting whiskey dick. I don't know. But it's one of those things that we didn't see them drink, we didn't see them party, we didn't see them like get wild or loose and stuff like that. It's a mistake. If you that's gonna be your excuse, and if you're gonna show him like that afterwards, you kind of need to show us a little. You need to give us a little bit more, like at least show them drinking, and not as much as the orgy part, but whatever. So they had the conversation, and now Otto Hightower finds himself in a very precarious situation that I do not envy at all, but I was laughing a lot when I was seeing it. Otto Hightower just got like a massive diamond just fall into his lap. So again, you need to remember, Otto Hightower is the father of Alicent Hightower. Alicent Hightower is the Queen Regent, and she has given the king birth, giving birth to a couple of the king's first male heir. So she's given birth to the king's first male heir. However, the king's oldest daughter is the heir to the throne. So Otto Hightower was just given a piece of information that could completely and totally destroy Rhaenyra's reputation, massively. So that's something that's super massively useful to him. However, he kind of is torn about giving that information to Viserys, and the way that I do not envy him, because here no matter how this goes, they're gonna shoot the messenger here, and he knows it, but he's like, all right, no, he kind of does the honorable thing here, because he could have let the rumor spread and let the king hear from another from somewhere else, and then it's like, all right, well, I didn't do anything, I just made sure that the king found out, but it wasn't through me. But he does the cool thing. He does the thing that a friend would do. It's like, you know what, I'm gonna tell him. I'm gonna go, because as a father, I can relate to this. And so he does the honorable thing. Again, knowing that the person that's gonna get shot is the messenger here. So he goes, he tells Viserys. Viserys clearly does not take it well. And it's really, again, I feel torn, because the way that I read this, the hesitation at first is he's not trying to do this for political gain. Now, he knows that there's political gain here, but I feel that he was actually trying to do it as a friend. Like, dude, like, this sucks. I do not want to be the person that tells you this. Imagine having to tell your best friend that his 19-year-old daughter has been, banging around with his brother. Like, that's not a fun conversation to have, okay? I really feel for this man, but he does it. I felt in a way where he tried to be cool about it. However, it's not a cool topic. And again, it's one of those things that they try to turn it on him in the most bizarre way. Like, oh, what? So you're spying on her or something? And listen, I'm more of a dick than Otto Hightower is. To me, it's like, no, she went to a place where I have spies. Like, are my spies not supposed to tell me that the princess is in a whorehouse? Like, is that not a thing to note? Is that... Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to tell you. Like, I wasn't following her. They were there. She went there. I have them in that whorehouse because they spy on Daemon sometimes, who's a troublemaker. And it turns out that she came there with him, and she did inappropriate stuff in a whorehouse in front of everybody. Was I not supposed to... What? All right, fine. Whatever. Like, is that what you want from me? Seriously? Fine. Whatever. Fuck you. Again, I'm more of a dick. He's not. I felt that he was actually trying to be nice about it, and so and take the heat of the king's wrath. So that obviously leaves Viserys kind of pissed, and we also see that Alicent overhears this particular conversation. Again, that's a really, really awkward, bizarre conversation, and you feel for Otto, you feel for Viserys because he doesn't want to believe it, because who would want to believe it? Again, this is medieval times, man. If your daughter is no longer a virgin, then you can't really do much with her. They kind of like they become like there's a term for it. Goods, spoiled goods or something is weird. And this is something that's been a theme in Game of Thrones for a really long time. Let's say, for example, if you guys remember, well, you probably don't remember. Again, this is more book stuff. But there's been many a situation when a young maiden is no longer a maiden, that even from a highborn house, they get basically sold off to a lower house, where the lower house used goods, yeah. So what the lower house uses as a stepping stone to go up, but it's because the highborn houses won't accept that girl anymore. So it's kind of like we're trying to salvaging it. We kind of want to salvage it, but it's complete dishonor in our house. Whatever. Was it right? No. It's really weird, but that's how things rolled. So this is a massively terrible situation for Viserys to be on, because he's in this right now, in this moment, he's trying to find, somebody to sell off the princess to that's going to give him some kind of value. This completely takes that plan and just throws it out the window completely, entirely. Even if it's just a rumor, he's fucked. Like, how do you what's the expression? The lie travels around the world, like, before the truth even ties on its shoes. And in this case, it's not even a lie, it's the truth. So if the rumors are out there, he's fucked. But anyway, so let's just say, not fun situation to him. Politically, as a father, are you kidding me? The brother who's been nothing but a pain in your ass your entire life might be banging your daughter, who's the heir. Are you serious? Like, I don't even know how you process that. Even for a Targaryen, he's gonna be like, that's fucked up. So it's insanity, but it's fun TV. So there you go. Next, let's continue. This conversation again does not go well for Otto Hightower, but he was kind of expecting it. So then Rhaenyra is smiling and giggling at her rape conquest, and Tristan's like, yeah, you're in trouble. And so it turns out that Alicent has summoned Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra basically, this is one of those things where it's like, I know what you did, and Rhaenyra's like, what the fuck, like, what do you know? And this whole thing about they have this whole conversation about the Daemon thing, like, did you do something or not, blah blah, and Rhaenyra's like, I did not have sex with Daemon last night. So here it sucks, because this particular conversation is fun, because I think the only person in this entire episode that flat out straight up lies is Rhaenyra. She's the only one. Everybody else omits stuff or doesn't confirm it or alludes to things, but they don't flat out lie. Here, the only person who actually flat out lies in the entire episode is Rhaenyra. And we need to... There's a couple of things that have been established about Rhaenyra. First off, forget about, being attracted to her uncle and the incest stuff and the rape stuff and all that. And there's something that's also more important that I kind of forgot to mention at the beginning. So at first, remember, there was the Bracken and the Blackwood kid, and they were kind of bickering. And she said that she liked the Bracken dude, and that's the dude that gets dead, right? You know, talk shit, find out, and the Blackwood kid killed him. It's one of those things where Rhaenyra's instincts are terrible every step of the way. From beginning to end, she just has terrible instincts. Even from saying, hey, I like that guy, and that's the dude that ends up getting killed. Every single step of the way, her freaking instincts suck. And now, not only do her instincts suck, now she's a flat-out liar. And not only a flat-out liar, she's stupid liar, because they could very easily just verify by asking the other person there, asking the people who saw them. And what are they going to do? They're going to just, cut the tongues out of every single person that's saying that. Again, the more you try to hide a rumor, the bigger it becomes. The more you try to deny it, and she gets angry about it. It's like, no, it's treason. So what? Are you going to kill the people who are saying it? It's a no-win situation for you. And again, stupid, but fortunately for her, she's got the writers on her side. She kind of went Bill Clinton, denial. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, but if I did. Now, it's, again, the issue's not really, she could have denied it without lying. Like, she could have just been like, I did not have sex with Daemon last night. I did not have sex with Daemon last night. Even when they say, like, are you still a maiden? I did not have sex with Daemon last night. That's all she needed to say. Like, I went there, and we were having a good time, and, like, I had a few drinks, maybe. I was hanging with my uncle. He's here. I haven't seen him for a long time. He was showing me the city. I was having, like my first glimpse. I got too excited. I was just following around. I was afraid of going back by myself. I was afraid of... And then, we were in the middle of stuff, having fun, and then Daemon left with a whore, and I got nervous, and so I came back home, and I did not have sex with Daemon. Like, that's all she kind of need to keep saying. Like, I did not have sex with Daemon. I did not have sex with Daemon. And she would have been fine. Technically, no lie. Unless, they go into really specific stuff. But right there, no lie. But she goes kind of out of her way to lie. Which I think is interesting. Because, again, this episode has been... They're right on the line. But nobody has lied so far. Which is... It's interesting. Like... As a film person, you're trying to figure out, ooh, where are they going with this? What's the point? What are they trying to say? But anyway, so she ends up lying there, straight up, in front of the gods. In front of the gods. Bran is just sitting there from the future being like, this whore, this raping whore is not only a whore, but a liar. Anyway, moving on. So she does this conversation, but Alicent is not sure if she believes her or not, but I think she wants to believe her more than she doesn't want to believe her. So this leads to, the return of Daemon to the castle. Obviously, everybody is pissed at him. And so as they take his very hungover ass all the way to the king, and they just drop him in front of the, in front of the throne. And this is a really weird moment to leave Daemon alone with the king, but all right, I mean, they did it. Like, if there's somebody who you're not gonna leave alone with Viserys, it would probably be Daemon. Or at least if you're Otto Hightower, you would not let that happen. You tell the Kingsguard, like, hey, don't leave him alone. Even though I don't think that Daemon would do anything to Viserys. Like, in his own way, he does love his brother. He wants his throne, but he loves his brother. So it's weird. But anyway, so Viserys basically kicks his ass a little bit, even though, Daemon's already beyond hungover. And he's like, what'd you do with Rhaenyra? And the funny thing is, Daemon never denies it. Which is, again, is not a lie. Like, it's a lie of omission, sure, because he's letting Viserys fill in the blanks. It's like, if I don't give you the information, I'm gonna let you fill in the blanks. But what he does, like, well, just give her to me. I'll marry her as is. Again, he's not saying, I'm marrying her now that she's not a virgin, because I'll marry her as is, or whatever. Like, I'll take 2 wives and blah, blah, blah. And Viserys is like, you just want my throne. You don't even want my daughter. Which is a weird thing to be upset about. Honestly. Like, imagine, like, listen, Targaryens are weird. Like, it doesn't bother him as much that he banged his daughter. It's more like, you just want my throne. And okay, whatever. What can you do? So, again, interesting conversation. And basically, his punishment is like, for taking my daughter's virginity, you have to go back to your wife in the Vale. And Daemon's like, no, not her. I hate her. Which, seriously, I I can't wait to see the wife. I can't wait to see the wife. Like, who's this person that Daemon hates so much and so openly? Like, I can't wait. It's gotta be like that pink lady from Harry Potter or something. That level of bad for Daemon to be this ridiculous about it. Anyway, so this whole thing happens, and he got vanished back to his home in the Vale. And then Alicent starts talking with Viserys, and it's like, hey, I don't think Rhaenyra lied, and Daemon lies a lot, so I don't think that they actually did it. I think that Daemon just likes pissing you off, and here's one of those situations where clearly Viserys is torn, but he wants to believe, so maybe he's inclined to. But anyway, now he's got he knows what's next, and he has to have a conversation with Rhaenyra. Which sucks. Can you imagine that as a dad? That's gotta suck. That's a crappy conversation to have. But anyway, let's continue. So it's Rhaenyra is doing, like her little walk of shame all the way to the king's chambers. Reaches the king's chambers, and Viserys starts telling her about this knife. Now, I can't tell you how much I fucking hate this knife. Like, oh yeah, this is the thing about the princess's promise and the secret I told you about the heir and yada yada yada, blah blah blah, stupid. Now, I could go into the whole thing of why it's stupid of the king telling the heir about this dream, and how this is going to lead to yada yada yada, blah blah blah, the prince that was promised. But let me just explain why it's extremely stupid. So, if first off, the line of king and heir for the Targaryens is not a straight line. It's kind of been fucked up, and that's why they ended up in this situation, because the line's been kind of crazy, and so sometimes the heir is an heir for a minute or something like that. So the point is that information would have been cut off pretty quickly. The knife would have been lost at a certain point, because a lot of heirs and Targaryens were lost, died in war or something. Like, I think Viserys' dad got killed by a pirate while he was riding a dragon. So the dragon obviously had landed. So, because again, you should not land a dragon. And so the most important thing, though, if this knife is so important, then how come Jon never ends up with it? I mean, sure, this knife does end up killing the Night King, spoiler alert, but it's Arya who does it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Arya has no fucking Targaryen blood in her, so what the fuck is it with this fucking story? How stupid do you think we are? Like, do you think we can't remember 2 years ago? Well, maybe it was 3 years ago. What was it, 2018? I don't know, but you think we can't remember? It was one of the most horrible moments of our lives. You think we don't remember it? Seriously? Anyway. So I just needed to get that out of the way, because it's been bugging me for a few. They're trying to, it's like they're trying to make fetch a thing. Stop trying to make fetch a thing. It's not a thing. Anyway, so he does that, and then he continues, and then he proceeds to just completely and totally trash Rhaenyra. Because basically, Viserys is trying to explain, like, even if you didn't do anything, it looks really bad, and you're in trouble, and your reputation, and blah blah blah. And so, long story short, you're marrying Lord Velaryon, and Rhaenyra's like, oh, so I'm just this, you're gonna just use me for the solution, as the solution to your political headache? And Viserys is like, you're my political headache. I just loved her face, like. I just love it. I just love watching Rhaenyra get trashed. It's hysterical. Because what do you say? You're like, I guess I see your point. Anyway, so basically he says that's what's gonna happen, and I don't think much else happens here. Oh yeah, that leads to Rhaenyra being like, all right, fine, I'll do it, but you need to fire Otto Hightower. And he's like, why do I need to fire Otto Hightower? She's like, well, because he's spying on me. And, he's got his own interest, and clearly he has his own ambitions, and he wants somebody else to, he wants Alicent's son to be the heir, not me. And here's one of those things where, listen, I get her point, but if I'm Viserys, I would have been like, that's your own fault. Like, these are your own actions. You did it. Otto didn't do anything. Like, you gave him the opening. So, sure, every single vulture in the realm is out to get you. Everybody and their mother. So it's up to you to prove him wrong. It's up to you to not give him. If they don't have any ammunition, they can't shoot at you. But if you just keep throwing bullets at them, they'll keep shooting at you. So, I mean, that's how I would have handled it. But again, I'm not Viserys, and Viserys kind of, it sucks because he kind of wants to be a nice guy, but it sucks because he also has to be the king, and the king kind of has to be a dick, but he doesn't want to be a dick to his own daughter, which kind of makes him an interesting character. But whatever. Point is, I would have handled it differently. And so he's like, all right, fine, I'll fire Otto. Jesus God. So he summons Otto, and he basically is like, thanks, Otto. Bye. I don't know why I'm doing that, but yeah. Basically, he's like, hey, you're great. But from the beginning, I'd never trusted you, or something like that. Or it's like, weird how you rose to power so quickly and in 5 days. Blah, blah, blah. So I think he was kind of just grasping at straws. It's a really weird thing that he was accusing Otto of. Doesn't make sense, but okay. And again, it's one of those weird things where I'm like, okay, yes, Otto is getting a lot of advantages here, but he didn't say anything. He didn't do anything. He didn't push anything. I mean, we saw how the whole Alicent thing went down. Yes, Otto was like, hey, go to his room, or like, hey, go comfort him. But Otto did say, well, like, Rhaenyra is a good match. It would be a smart match. Like, he didn't push. We haven't seen him push, which is, again, it's the beauty of the way of how they manipulate, because it's subtle. It's subtle, and they do it with kindness. But can you say that that's like being openly manipulative and stuff? I'm not sure. I don't think so. And again, it was all 100% Viserys' decision. They didn't push him at all. They didn't even like bring him to the edge. Like they were just, being like, hey, like it's gonna be a nice fall. I don't know. So this whole thing, I don't think it's fair for them to just dump all this stuff on Otto. At least not from my perspective, but whatever. So maybe you know what it felt like? It felt like Viserys was trying to find reasons to be mad so that he could fire him. It's like, all right, fine, I gotta fire him because of Rhaenyra. And so I need reasons. It's like, oh, and the way he brushes his teeth, it's too loud, and I fucking hate it. And he when he shakes my hand, it's too firm, and I just can't deal with that man anymore. Stuff like that. When you're like really grasping at straws to be mad. I don't know. Anyway, so he fires Otto, and basically the episode ends with a maester showing up at Rhaenyra's room with a tea that's been brewed specifically. Basically, it's like a plan B. And so it's like, if the king sent this to you in case you need it. So it's a very interesting situation where basically, well, a lot of things are happening. One, Viserys is telling Rhaenyra, hey, I don't believe you. I don't trust you. I think you're lying, but I'm still your dad, so I want to I don't want you to get pregnant or something. Plan T, that's great. Plan Targaryen. So, and it's also in a way a test. It's like, well, why'd you drink it if you didn't need it? The thing is that Rhaenyra, does she need it? I don't know. Because again, like, listen, we don't know her cycle. So does she know does she even know about cycles? I don't know, probably. I mean, she is a highborn, so somebody at some point should have taught them a little bit about something. I don't know, but it's a fun little interesting tidbit here. And I mean, there's a very easy out here, right? Like a very, very, very easy out. You could you check out kind of the color of the tea, you ask for another tea, you drink it, you put the new tea in there, and you're done. And if you don't want them to check that tea, you grab that thing, you go over to the king's chamber, you smash that thing on the wall, and you're like, this is the most insulting thing you ever done to me, and you storm off. Easy solution, right? Let's see if they think about it. Like, it's pretty easy, right? I mean, it's not that crazy. I'm like, listen, I'm no genius, but I think that's like a pretty easy thing to do if you're in that, like, what feels to be what they would think it's kind of like a checkmate situation, but whatever. Anyway, that's where the episode ends. So like I said, I enjoyed it. Mostly I enjoyed trashing it because it's it's really weird and really stupid and kind of like like weird, like the weirdest sex scenes ever. Bizarre, didn't make much sense, but you know, straight up, I had a good time. In that sense, I can't complain. I did enjoy that. So that is it for today. Let me see. Yep, that's it for today. Good place to stop. As always, any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at DarioSDW and at Super Dario. Well, tomorrow at around 8ish, maybe a little bit later, my kid brother's going to join me, and we're going to break down week 1 of the NFL, which was wild. Insanity, madness. Do we know shit about fuck? No. Spoiler alert, we still do not. It was terrible. But hopefully we'll get better, and hopefully it'll be fun. Let me see. As always, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again next time.